See the moonlights on the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Tallawah TV is in the town. Whoa, I'm getting ready. Got a corner on the telephone. Yeah, this is the Ocean of the Messenger, and you're watching Tallawah TV with the host and best. Davis, take it away.
Dre, finally, we have gotten our World Cup journey underway. Held away to Costa Rica. Full-time result is Costa Rica 1 and Jamaica 1. How do you feel?
Feel relieved. I can imagine how Coach Tupper Whitmore feels and the players. They're finally on the board. They get some points on the board. Optimistic to see what the team has to offer in the future once they're combined. But this is a good result away from home, and they get a point. And we could have gotten 3 points because, believe me, we had some chances inside and on the top of that 6 yard boxes. With more composure, I believe we could come away with 3 points. But yeah, I'm very optimistic.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you there with your last point. If we were more composed and perhaps more fluid with our attacking front, maybe we would have walked away, or I should say we should have walked away with all three points, because when you look at Costa Rica, they were really in game one from minute one all the way to the full 90, weren't they? They weren't really, they didn't really have the ability to switch gears at any point. It was a very flat performance from Costa Rica. But overall, it was a game of two halves. The first half there, we saw that we made a couple of rash challenges. Again, unfortunately, poor defensive awareness led to the opening goal. Costa Rica opened us up within the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we failed to close down that second ball, the ball that came from the left side over into the box. We failed to close that down with more aggression. I think and Liam Moore or other players would have dived at that ball instead of like walking to that ball with your hand behind, just expecting the cross to come across and leaving it for your central defend players to defend it. You could have closed it down with a little bit more aggression. And also, when that ball came inside the box, I don't think my central defensive player made an attempt to jump for that ball. And then, unfortunately, his partner in crime got caught ball watching, and then the defender just came in front of him and basically tapped it in with his head.
What do you put that dysfunctional aspect down to? Because we were a dysfunctional side, particularly in the first 45. Again, unfortunately, we didn't look organized. Like I said, we made a few one or two rash challenges. But what do you put that dysfunctional aspect down to?
I think this one we can't put it on the coach because the 11 that went out there, it was a good 11. I expected to come away with points from that 11. I believe it was our strongest 11 that given the occasion and the players available. Now, we came out, we feel out the game, we played too deep. We weren't playing a high line of defense, and that could be a cause because Mariappa, 36-year-old in the back in central defense, we don't want him to be going one-on-one with a Joel Campbell as the last line of defense. So that may be a reason why we were playing so deep. But we saw where um, once we start getting it together towards the end of the first half, we started to see passes put together and all, and then we got some chances there. McGee, he started off slow, and then like the coach coached him up on the sidelines, and we know what he has to offer. We know the skill set, we know the individual brilliance that he has, and the passing and vision. We hear Ravel Morrison speak very highly of this youngster, so we know what he has to offer. So once he getting more involved in the game, then we saw where the ball were moving from the defensive end to the defensive midfielders, and once it reached towards the attack, we saw where chances were created. But that's just summing up the first half.
I think we have to give Tapa some credit for, I guess you can say, his game management this time round. We saw a few positives from Tapa, didn't we? Yes, we weren't in the changing room at half time, but he must have said something to these players because they came out with a whole different mindset and a positive attitude, didn't they?
Yeah, they came out of that locker room with a lot more aggression. We saw where they were more determined, like they got refreshed, like a refresher of what the occasion was like and what's at stake here. Because going into the game, a lot of pundits did decide that this was a must-win game for the coach, and being that he is a coach, he's a player coach that some would say. So because of that, whatever he said in the locker room to his players, then that may have motivated them and get them going for the second half, knowing what's at stake and the occasion here. And they came up with a lot more purpose and aggression in that second half.
Absolutely. Let's touch on McGee because you're absolutely right there. Looked a little bit rusty for the first 45. I guess you can put that down to his run of games inside the national team. 1 minute he's playing, next minute he's not playing. So surely one way of getting the best of Tarek McGee is to nail him down to a couple of games.
Yeah, and we saw where he was just getting into form at club level. He just broke into the first team, and the last two games, I think he got some minutes in the last game coming into the international break here. And then we see where the first two games for Jamaica, he wasn't able to get on the field for some reason or the other. But then in this game, he got the start at the most crucial point in the three games. He ended up getting the start. So, we saw where once he played in that Gold Cup it was against Costa Rica last, we kind of see that the Reggae Boys are a lot of fans that was in the stadium see what he brought to the table and his potential and how skillful this player is and what we can get from him when he's on his A game. So that's why he has such a large fan base of all the Reggae Boys players. He does draw a lot of attention and social media fans when he's online. So, we want to see a Tariq McGee be successful. And like I said, Ravel speak very highly of him, and he does have some characteristics on the ball and on the field that of a magician, as they call him.
A magician indeed. Elegant. That was an elegant turn in the center of the park that led to Shaman Nicholson scoring the equalizer. So Tarek McGee, I think he's been the missing factor or one of the missing factor when you look at that central midfield position because they've been screaming out for quality in terms of creativity. Now in this game, particularly in the second 45, where like you alluded to, he came into his form. He was that player that we've been screaming out for in terms of being that player who can step up and grab the game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, the player that will be able to string some passes towards the forward line. And also, we saw in the first half, Corey Burke was doing a lot of work and a lot of running, and then sooner or later he was going to burn out. And we know that was coming. So to take some of that pressure off the individual brilliance of a Corey Burke just going one on one with his defenders, which he did get a chance one on one in the second half where he ended up taking on, I think it was like four defenders when that ball came through. He was backtracking all the way from his own half, covering for, I think on that side it was on the left side. So that was Taxi he was over there with. And he broke into the opponent half, had 4 or 5 players around him. He twist, turn, dribbled over the ball, and then by the time it was time for him to take that shot, that defender sliding right at the last second. And I believe that was going right on goal. Some reminiscent of that goal that he scored in the Gold Cup. If you remember where he broke in from that left side, got it on his right foot, fired towards goal, straight in the back of the net. I think this one was going in the same direction, but unfortunately, it was a last-ditch effort by that defender to stop that.
Let's focus on our star boy for the moment, and the star boy at the moment is Shaman Nicholson because the two moments where we've jumped up for joy and celebrated has been thanks to Nicholson's goal. against Mexico and now against Costa Rica. So you can credit him for his positional awareness because he's very good at positioning himself in the right areas at the right time. But he also is to an extent guilty of not burying this game for us, isn't he?
Yes, you can look at it that way. He does go into goal scoring positions, like you said. He runs off the ball into spaces really good, which hence creating chances. But once the chance comes, he needs that clinical finishing touch. He needs that part of his game. Maybe he could develop that more. We saw before this World Cup qualifying tournament, he did put 3 goals in the back of the net, so
Yes.
he was coming in on good form. So
Yes.
that continued and that keeps continuing. So who knows? The future really looks bright for Shamar Nicholson. And he knows what's at stake too. So he needs to keep up this form coming into the next round of World Cup qualifiers because we know the boys are coming back and so are the English-based players. If this UK ban is lifted for October's round of tournament, round of games, then it's a different ball game come once the full team is combined. And I expect Shamar to keep up this, keep scoring, rich form of goal scoring for his club, and then now, of course, the national team. And remember, he's only 24 years old, if I'm correct, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. So the future really looks bright for this young man. And yeah, the second chance that he got late in that game, man, just
He
some
went for the
composure.
spectacular, didn't he? I think that's what went against him. He went for the spectacular.
All he had to do is he never realized that he had so much time. That's probably what it was because the I think the defender that was tracking back behind him, he gave up because he said this guy's wide open. Okay, it's 2-1, and then he went for the acrobatic kick, which he never need to in that instance. And Navas was mad because Navas, no any other striker would have had a chance to bury that on goal. That would have been in the back of the net. So,
I
we can't beat him too much. It's just that he needs to work on that part of his game, the finishing.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that works against Shamar Nicholson is his age, because obviously with age comes great experience. And I think that's why people or fans and supporters lean towards someone like Michael Antonio starting over Shamar Nicholson. But looking forward to the October window, would you start Michael Antonio over Shamar Nicholson, or would you say, based off Nicholson's form for club and country, you would start Nicholson ahead of Michael Antonio and then introduce Antonio out in the second 45? Because one thing with Shamar is you can't play him out of position because he becomes ineffective.
You're very smart, because you advocated for that against Panama. I remember you saying that comment before the Panama game, saying that in the preview leading up to that game, saying that you would have started a Shamar because of his rich goal scoring form and his familiarity and chemistry with the team. But little did we know that they were going to start all 8 UK based players and not a mixture. So that's something else for another day. But we're reviewing this right now. So preview leading up come October. I may have a different stance and I may have more to say on that once I see how both player has been performing leading up to the October round, which is another strong test again for the coaching staff and for the players. 3 games again coming in October in quick succession. We should see some upgrades to the team again. Although it's not local based, it's UK based player, but we should see rumblings are very loud right now with a particular winger slash attacking midfielder who is ripping up the EPL right now for Everton. So we'll see how that works out.
I know you're speaking about Damari Gray, so hopefully, fingers crossed, he can come into that October camp. But what would you change going into that October camp? Because for me, surely it has to be preparations, because preparation for every single game has been a distraction for us. If you look back at the Mexico game, Mexico started camp maybe say 2 or 3 days ahead of us, right? So they were fine tuning. ahead of the Jamaica game. Obviously, they know because of the history between both countries, they can't afford to lose. Most certainly not on home soil. And also, if you look at Costa Rica before they went into the World Cup qualifications, they were doing friendlies. So they did a friendly, and I believe their friendly was against El Salvador. So again, you've got all these countries who are either starting camp a couple of days early just to get those training sessions in the bag, or they would have gone into the competition on the back end of a friendly. So for me, preparation surely has to be different going into the October window.
And the flight ban on the COVID and all that, the ruling from the UK government and all that, that really hurt us because 14 players were supposed to come in. Some pulled out last minute and leaving 13. And we kind of miss. I know a lot of people may not in your comments after this video may say Dre don't know what he's talking about. Hector, we can't have Hector on this team, man. Hector, da 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 da. He's very hated, but we really missed the Michael Hector in all three games. Anthony Grant was asked to do a lot. And I believe that if we had Hector in the game in Panama, not in Panama, the Panama game in Jamaica, things might have been a little bit different because although it was UK based players starting and Hector in the middle of that, then we would have a central defensive midfielder on the park. We had none. Hence, the goals were coming in, no disruptor in the midfield. We lost the midfield from the opening whistle because we were asking. I don't want to go back to the Panama game, but me and you never get really to speak about it. But I believe that we started two attacking minded players and asked them to play a deep defensive midfield role. And that's where we kind of started out on the wrong foot right there, then and there. But on the positive, we got a point on the board. We're no longer in the zero column, so we don't have a big fat zero on the standings
You
no
heard
more.
the
On the
man.
regular.
You heard the man right there, guys. We are no longer sitting on zero. We've got our point, our first point of the World Cup qualifier. Coach actually caught me by surprise with the starting 11 because I thought that he was going to go for a bit more defensive stability. So in my mind, because of the reintroduction of Javon Watson, I thought he was going to start Watson and Anthony Grant in the center of the park as opposed to bringing on one, starting one and then bringing on the other. Because I think when you have two defensive midfielders with age and experience, that will then allow the fluidity of Tarek McGee to basically take full effect. Because with Javon Watson, yes, a lot of people are not in favor of Watson, but at least he's familiar with his teammates, he's a bit familiar with his surroundings, and also he could also track back to kind of bridge the gap between the back line and the central midfield position, which has been one of our weakest components so far.
I think we have to give Coach Tapa some credit there because he saw where he made a mistake against Mexico away
Yes.
when he looked to the bench. Grant was exhausted, high altitude, all the above, and fitness and all that, playing in Division Two and all that. He looked back to his bench and he saw no defensive midfielder back there. Actually,
Mhm.
he probably was looking for Hector and they're like, "Oh, where's my boy? Where's?" And like, man, Hector's in England still. So who we got? Who we got? So we had to stop gap plug a player or two in the middle of the park that was playing out of position. So he saw this time he drafted a player that he's familiar with that has
Mhm.
some chemistry in the team too.
Yeah.
Chemistry coming from World Cup years and World Cup campaigns over the years. Assisted some brilliant goals for us throughout the years and really was a integral part of Coach Papa Whitmore's coaching career and record. So, this time he had Watson there. Once Grant was looking winded out there and he needed to lock up the points, he he had the answer on the bench this time around. And that
Yeah,
was really good forward thinking.
I think I'd like to second what you've just stated, that it was forward thinking for from Tapa, although he completely caught me off guard. But that just goes to show that in this case he wasn't predictable at all. He got his tactics right to an extent, but like you said, this result, you cannot put this result on the hands of Tapper. It's about accountability. It's about the players going out there and capitalizing on their chances, because they had a handful of chances to take home those 3 points, but unfortunately they didn't.
So right off bat, I can think of three. The Corey chance. Fleming had a chance, 2-on-1 with him and Shamar and one defender, and the goalkeeper had his mercy. And in that instance, everybody called Fleming a selfish player. In that instance, we wanted him to show some selfishness, just shoot on goal. He had three-quarter of the goal in front of him, and he chose to square the ball, and it was a bad pass anyway because that's not his game. He's not known for the assist and creativity in assists. I mean, he has some assists in USL, but on this occasion, we needed a shot on goal, and he went for the pass instead. Then again, he got a chance to take a more powerful shot this time around, and he kind of went for a placement. And also Tyrick McGee, the magician, he went for the spectacular. You remember that one time shot that he went for? Instead of it's just a part of his game though. He scores a spectacular goals, and that was expected of him. Because can you imagine if that went into the back of the net, how the media frenzy that would surround that Tarek McGee coming off the plane back to the airport, whichever airport, Norman Manley or whatever. It would be like a national hero coming back, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
I think with Flemings, because there are fans like ourselves who do, or who are in support of Junior Flemings. I know not everyone is on Junior Flemings, not everyone is in favor of Junior Flemings, but I think for Junior to aid his development or to become an all-round player, I think what Junior Flemings need to do is he needs to get the balance right. So what you just touched on there is you saw the two halves of Junior Flemings. 1 minute he's decisive, next minute he's indecisive. It's knowing when to be, as you quite rightly put it, that greedy player, and not when to be that greedy player. So it's just about balancing that decisive moment and that indecisive moment for Flemings.
That's true. I agree with that. And a lot of people say it's because of the level that he's playing in the USL. Some players, they get comfortable, and maybe that's his comfort zone. And he know he can be successful in that league, and he can play consistently in that league. So maybe that's that, or it could be on the part of his agent. You never know. But when he plays for the national team, he does show good, um, like he follows coaching instructions and he
Yeah.
plays to the best of his ability. We can't take that away from him. He does create the chances. He win us some free kicks too. So he does give it all when he's out there representing the national team.
And also energy as well. He does tend to bring the right energy to the game. Sometimes, yes, people can argue and say that for his position is to score goals, but in modern football, there's more to it than that. You have to be an all-rounder. And I know people criticized him in the first half because when he was tracking back, people wanted him to get closer to the defense. But naturally, he's an attacking player. So then that just comes down to coaching him to let him know that when you track back, when you position yourself in a good position, this is how you man mark your man and so on. But yeah, I'm in support of Junior Flemings like yourself. I know not everyone's going to agree with us on that front.
Yeah, he's part of the football in 90 team too, so I gotta give him props for that.
Yeah, he does unfortunately get a lot of bashing, sometimes unfair, but thank you to Shimon Nicholson. Thank you to the coach, because you can't really criticize Tapper this time round. Starting 11 went out there to do a job. Unfortunately, they didn't understand the assignment in the first 45, but they got it right in the second 45.
And they brought the aggression and tenacity. They could have been a lot more clinical, but that's on the players, not on Coach Tapa Whitmore. So he did his part this time, and I saw coach coaching them up on the sidelines a lot in this game. Not like what we're used to see from Tapa Whitmore. So he knew the occasion and he know what was at stake, and he can't blame him for this one. So whatever happens tomorrow, which we know things are a bit rocky right now. So whatever happens or not happen, the coach did his job out there tonight.
Absolutely. And before you go, are you in favor of the return, the reintroduction of Watson? Yes, people can bang on about his age and the fact that he's not played many club football, but are you in favor of Watson's reintroduction?
No. So 38 years old, playing the bottom team in the JPL, in Jamaican Premier League, playing probably like a handful of games. But it's no comparison to the players that are available at the CDM position. It's just that because of all that's going on right now. But we know there are players out there that are capable and have a better level of play and can bring to the national team in that position. Most notable, a Kevin Stewart. And remember, the reason why Stewart was not here is because mainly of that injury that kept him out of all those games for his club that ended up giving him a couple minutes just before the rest of the guys flew down. So I understand that Stewart had to be left out of this campaign here. Not this campaign, but this round. Hopefully, he's not left out of the campaign because it's a long campaign. We got like 11 more games to go. So hopefully, it's not out of the campaign. But so we expect to see a Kevin Stewart. Majority is expect to see. Was surprised that because Stewart wasn't here, a Jordan Cousins wasn't the fill gap for a Stewart not being here. And coming up also in that CDM position, there's a few rumblings that Mr. Newcastle himself may be visited again or entertain a comment or two, or a sit down with the JFF again this time around. But 1 point on the board is a good look going forward. No longer with zero. It's not the look that we expected after three games. But we can build from it and going forward, knowing that all this pandemic had hampered the team performance. So we're looking forward to it. There's also the young man who plays here in Orlando, Joey Desert. I haven't seen him play, but there's a lot of rumbling. I've seen some highlights on TV and stuff of the MLS. Not really a big fan of the MLS because I'm all caught up in between my club, Chelsea football, of course, and the dominance in world football right now. So I don't really get much time to see MLS, and I have to cover them. I have to cover the Lakers. I have to cover the Dallas Cowboys, which takes the field tomorrow. So I expect big things going in the season for my Cowboys. They're playing against Tampa Bay. I wish I could go on to the game, but when I look at the ticket prices, $470 for a nosebleed seat. So you can
Wow.
imagine. It's the occasion. It's the defending champions versus America's team. I'm expected to be the greatest show on turf, and we are coming to England. Not the Cowboys, but NFL is coming to England sometime during the season. They're going to be playing a game there in the Great Wembley Stadium. But
Okay.
yeah, I have so much to cover, guys. So much.
Okay, I think I might try my luck and get to that game to report on it. That will be my first NFL game, so I need to go, and I might have to lean on you for some support just to like let me know the rules of the game, because it is something that I've always wanted to get into, but I'm just like, this is too commercialized. I can't do it. Too many breaks. But I'll, if I'm going to go to that game at Wembley, then I'll lean on you beforehand just so you can like just educate me and give me a couple of key information.
Yeah, you get some more followers too because they'll be like, oh, NFL. She covers. Oh wow, NFL fans. Let's go with Tallawah TV. Let's go. She has NFL coverage too, and she'll be in the game in the Wembley Stadium. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
good luck for you too.
I'm going to speak to my sports editor and see what he says. I'll give him a heads up to say that yeah, I want to go and do the NFL. I think he'll be pleased because he's always keen to see his reporters pick up different sports. So I'm going to take my chances and see if I can get to that game.
Yeah, it'll be a good look for you too. The other team I do cover is FSU. They came off a loss yesterday. FSU over here is called Florida State University,
Yeah,
like
yeah, I've seen them.
the Seminoles, in other words. You may
Yes,
hear of the
yes.
Seminoles, the Gators, and the Hurricanes. The three powerhouse that runs Florida. They all battle every year for the state bragging rights. So yeah, this is a football, college football state. So my team is the Seminoles.
Okay, well, there's plenty of sport for choices. I'm definitely not going to be bored towards the latter stage of this year. You heard the man there, people. We finally got a point on the board heading into the October fixtures. Dre, you know how it is. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for stopping by and coming into my studio. And I have no doubt that we'll definitely sit down and speak again in the near future.
Yeah, no problem. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Dre. Take care.
Been a pleasure.